welcome to this practice. So today we're going to do a kind of subtle flow, slow flow practice, maybe about half an hour, we'll see. So we're going to start off lying on the ground. Now I do have a blanket laid out over the mat. I also have extra blankets for my head. That's just because I find it more comfortable that way. It is up to you. It is nice in a slower practice to kind of have a little bit more nourishment and support if that feels good. I know some people, if you sort of run warm, you don't want a blanket underneath, but yeah, grab what you need to get started. And then we'll come on down just to lie on your back. We want to set up in constructive rest, so having your knees bent, feet on the floor. You can have your arms beside you, maybe resting on your body just to begin. You might even like your knees just resting on each other in that constructive, or I would say effortless rest. Maybe taking a moment to lift and roll your shoulders and just checking in this time of arrival. Noticing the body that you have turned up with today. How your body is able to settle into the floor initially. And then transitioning your attention to your breath. And again, as you begin, just see if you can notice the natural movement of your breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Can you let your attention just follow the movement of breath and the movement that creates in your body? And then maybe with this slight change in your attention, there might be a natural kind of deepening of your breath. Or you might add a little, so taking that full inhale as you're drawing the breath down, expanding into your chest, side ribs or those lower ribs, and right into your belly. And exhale, kind of feel your belly sink, ribs draw in as the breath leaves. And let's just take maybe 3 or 4 more really intentional breaths here to arrive. So filling up, inhale. And slow, smooth exhale if you can. Let's take one more like that. And then letting your hands rest down beside you. And if your knees were together, just bringing your knees apart so your feet kind of stacked underneath your knees. Take a moment maybe just to roll the shoulders again and sort of resettle into the floor. And then spreading your toes, you ground down to your feet into the floor. And we start by moving the pelvis really intentionally. So like you're creating, it's kind of like cat-cow but lying down. You sort of roll your pelvis forward, feel the belly lift, create that arch into your lower back. And in the reverse, it's like you're tucking your buttocks underneath, pressing your lower back into the floor. Feel the belly contract in, that might be your exhale. And we go again, so rolling forward, find that arch. Exhale, flatten, press your back into the floor. If this movement is quite challenging to connect to, initially you can actually just kind of imagine that you're doing it or make it a little bit bigger so that you can find it. But we're really starting to drop into these subtler levels of the body and movement, and this can be really powerful to kind of connect to your center. Let's take 2 or 3 more like that. Rolling forward and back. And especially with this slower practice, there's time to kind of start to unwind not only the body but also the mind by intentionally slowing down. So keep bringing your attention back to the movement that you're doing, to the movement of your breath. And then pausing in the neutral spine for a moment. So we'll add on and take it more into an undulating bridge. If you do have blankets like I do, I'm actually just going to take one out because I don't want too much height for this next part. So I'm more flat on the ground, so up to you to adjust. Because now we're going to press the lower back into the floor, ground down through your hands and your feet, start to lift your hips up. Because it's kind of the first move we're doing, you don't want to go so high, so if it feels like it causes discomfort or instability in your low back,
just don't lift as high. And then lowering down. So you're looking for that sense of articulation through your spine as you move. And still going to keep that little bit of rocking in the pelvis as well. And try and ground down evenly through your feet. Really interesting to notice if you roll to the blade edge or kind of roll to the inside. And try and bring a sense of evenness through your feet. And squeezing in, drawing in towards the center line. And then just moving at your own pace. You can absolutely copy my pace, but otherwise kind of finding your own rhythm. It might be your inhale as you lift up. Exhale as you lower back down. Let's take 2 or 3 more like that. We'll take these last few, but we're going to add in movement of your arms. So if it's comfortable for you when you're ready, as you lift, take your right arm up. Now depending on your shoulder, you might just keep your right arm extended to the ceiling or take it all the way overhead, extending behind you. And then as your hips lower down, your arm lowers down. And release. Let's go to the other side. So hips lift, left arm extends up and over. And lowering down. I'm going to take about 3 more, moving from side to side. So again, create a rhythm in your body with the movement and your breath if it's there. Lifting and lowering, timing the movement of your hips with your arms. Finishing off the side you're on, finishing off the round you're on so you feel even. And then we'll take 2 or 3 with both arms, so kind of evening that out, lifting up. Both arms reach, keep that little bit of squeeze through inner legs. It's more like a light tone to stabilize through your center. 1 more, lifting up. And then coming all the way down. Let that settle for a moment. If you're like me, you want to slide your blanket back in, you can do that. Okay. And then bring your arms slightly away from the body. Take your feet out a little bit wider. We've still got a bend in the knees, but I'm going to walk my feet a little bit further away from my hips. And then taking the knees over to one side, kind of adding in that twist. And then over to the other side. And maybe as your knees say go to the left, you turn your gaze, your head to the right. If your neck doesn't like that type of movement, don't force it. And we're just starting to bring in movement connection with breath. This might be as an inhale as you come through center and an exhale as you move out to the side. Maybe 1 more to each side. And then meeting back in the center. In that momentary pause, maybe taking a full breath in. And you might sigh out your mouth. And then drawing your knees into your chest for this Apanasana. Little rock side to side. Maybe start by rolling out one ankle and then the other, and just take circles through your ankles, opening through those joint spaces here. And then circle kind of with your hips, but thinking you're circling into the hip space, the hip joint, as you sort of take your knee on that little bit of a journey, maybe one at a time or both at the same time. Just squeezing back in, rock side to side, placing your feet back down, and then taking your right ankle over your left knee, okay, and pressing that knee away. So you can initially just stay here. If you've got a lot of sensation around the hips, you can just be as you are here, coming back to your breath, or maybe floating that left foot off the floor. You might interlace and just kind of catch around the outside of each knee, or you might, through thread the needle by taking your right arm kind of through the gap between your legs, whether it's hugging across the front shin, maybe onto the back of your hamstring, or you can always extend your left leg up if you like that variation. Just pressing away here. Notice if your shoulders are really coming up off the ground. You can probably see mine are a little bit. But try and find a sense that your shoulders are grounding back down if you're heavy into the floor. Just take a few rounds of breath. Okay. And then from wherever you are, whether your foot's down or your foot's hovering, keeping the shape of your legs, you're going to take the shape over towards the left side. Okay, so your right foot will come down across the body. Slightly different twist. You can maybe just reach onto that right, foot with your left hand. And then you might even turn your gaze over your right shoulder. And just gently, I quite like to just press that right knee away a little to get into the outer hip area. And then coming back through centre, releasing that leg. This time it'll be your left ankle over your right knee. You might hold here, pressing away again. This can be really different from side to side, so just be mindful of where you go. And feel free to, again, find the bind, maybe around the outside or that interlace. And hold here for a few rounds of breath. And then releasing from there, let's take it to the twist. So lowering the shape here, wherever the shape is, but sort of lowering it then over towards the right side. So your left foot might come down. If it doesn't come all the way down, just let it be what it is in your body, making it work. You can extend that left arm, maybe turning the gaze over that shoulder. Your palm might be down, might have more of a cactus arm. Always up to you to add those little variations to support your practice. And then back through centre, bringing everything back in. Again, knees back in towards your chest, and this time extending your legs up. So feel free to have as much bend in your knees as is there. Reach your arms up as well, and again, just that moment to roll out through your ankles, this time with the legs up, roll out through your wrists. If you find it kind of challenging to do that all at the same time, you just focus on one joint at a time. So roll in one wrist, then the other, then one ankle, and then the other. Okay? You might even give it all a little bit of a shake out before we come up. And then knees in. Feel free to roll off to one side or maybe take a little rock and roll to come on up. And then setting yourself up in a tabletop position from here. So I'm just going to adjust where my props are and take these little ones out of the way. I've got the big blanket on my mat, so I'm going to keep this for under my knees, but I want my hands on the grippy part of the mat, like that. Set yourself up so that you're comfortable, maybe wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, and then just starting to bring the weight forward and back. Finding your tabletop that works. And then we'll move through a few rounds of that cat-cow, which is kind of similar to what we were doing on the back, but obviously there's a little bit more space to move into. So letting your belly and chest come down, find that arch in the back, chest and sternum moving forward. Round and down, push the floor away. In your own time, really see if you can connect to your own breath rhythm here, if it makes sense in your body to do so. Might be an exhale as you round. Inhale as belly comes down, arch. Let's take 3 or 4 more like this. Taking 1 more round. And then coming into your tabletop position, I want you to sit back on your heels. So bring your knees in and then just sitting back. If sitting back on your heels is not a comfortable place for you to be,
find a seated position that is, okay? So you might be sitting up on a prop if you've got one, another blanket or a block, or if just being on your heels like this or sitting isn't going to work, you can come into a high kneeling position instead, okay? But get creative, you can always use a chair. And then reaching your arms up overhead, lift and lengthen. So you can spread your fingers, really reach through the hands and think of that lengthening through the side body. Might even take your gaze up if that's comfortable, don't strain the neck. And when having the arms up and overhead, if it's too much for whatever reason, you bring them out wider, or you might prefer to stay in more of a cactus shape, it's fine. Take one more breath, inhale, reach. And then exhale, we'll all come into cactus arms. So bending the elbows, lifting your chest. And take your right arm, bringing it underneath your left, okay, wherever this goes to. You might be crossing your hands over, or bring your palms together, that kind of eagle arms. So I'm trying to bring my shoulders out of my ears, then draw the arms toward you. Lift and lengthen. Take a nice full breath. And then opening out. Lift the chest, come forward. Left arm comes underneath right this time. Your version might be different. You can give yourself kind of that big hug, or the hands might cross in some direction. Let your arms do what your arms do, yeah? Make it work. We're not trying to cause too much tension in the body, but maybe finding those areas that you can kind of get into and have an interesting sensation or stretch. 2 or 3 breaths right here. Opening back out, lift. Reach the arms up overhead. And then take your right hand down beside you, fingertips to the floor, reaching up with your left, lengthen over. A little bit of that lateral bend. You might keep the head lifting. You can stay right here, or you might explore reaching forward. And then opening up. So again, opening through the side body. One more like this. And then come back through center. That might be your inhale breath. Exhale, we go to the other side. Bring it down, reaching up, and lengthening over. You can hold static. Sometimes it's nice just to be here. Or that little bit of movement coming forward, and then up and back, and over. Inhale, reach. Lift all the way down. And then just a moment, from wherever you are, take your hands back behind you, interlace your fingers, if that's available. If not, just reach your arms back. Open the chest, full breath in. This time maybe a sigh out. Release, little roll of your shoulders, shake of your hands. Going to make our way into a downward facing dog. So feel free now, if you want the blanket out of the way, just slide that back behind you with your other props. And then coming forwards, you bring your hands to the top of your mat, spreading your fingers, tuck your toes, lifting up and back, downward facing dog. Your downward dog, you can have a nice deep bend in your knees. You can bring this in any way. And it's really not working on the floor today like this. You can actually bring your hands to the wall and just kind of cut it in half of the intensity. And as you pedal out the feet, just that bending one knee, you might stay with the bend, but really explore that length into the back of the legs. So we want to be able to push into the floor, find length through your side body and your spine. Let's take 3 or 4 breaths here. And then when you're ready, rise onto your toes with a bend in your knees. Start to walk your hands and your feet together. However you get there to come into your standing forward fold, which might be bringing your elbows up to your knees right away. You might like to hold opposite elbows, let the head hang, or bring your fingertips to the floor. Even spreading your toes, let the head hang down. Again, feel free to keep as much of a bend in your knees as you like, or if you're taking your legs towards straight, really actively bringing attention to your legs. It's Uttanasana. We'll take 2 or 3 more breaths here. And then pressing down through your feet, you can add that bend. Start to slowly and intentionally curl all the way back up.
And by back up, I mean it's the first time we've come up, so mindfully bringing yourself up. Shoulders can roll back. And then maybe inhale, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, hands meet in the center of your chest. Okay, come up to the top of your mat. Keep your right foot where it is. Step your left foot back. So we're going to come into this kind of shorter warrior one stance and then add a little bit of movement. So warrior one, my back toes want to be kind of facing forward as well, just so you feel like your torso is squaring forward. From a straight leg, going to keep the arms down. You can kind of reach your arms back. Then as you bend your front knee, extend your arms up. Now if you want less kind of in the back body, just start to extend forward. It kind of activates your back body a little bit more, but takes out the back bend. Ground down through both feet. Straighten your front leg, reach the arms back. And we're just flowing between these two places, so lift up and then drawing back. Really ground down through your feet, so just that squeeze slightly through the inner thighs, real connection to the ground. Might be an inhale as you lift, and exhale coming down. 2 or 3 more. And then 1 more, bending your knee, reach your arms. This time bend those elbows again, let's take cactus arms, lift your chest. Again, you can always be a little bit further forward. Otherwise, just take a few breaths holding here. Feel that activation through the body, the squeezing, and so connect to the foundation through your feet, drawing the energy up through your body. 1 more full inhale. And exhale. Reach the arms back, lengthen for a moment. You might interlace your fingers once again, open your chest. And then straightening your front leg. Release your arms and come forward. Roll your shoulders, give everything a little bit of a shake out. Release the body. Left foot forward, right foot back. Adjust your stance once again. So we start with that front straight leg. And then reach your arms back. As you bend your knee, extend the arms, you might be reaching a little more forward or a little more up to you. And then coming back down. But just like as we started, looking to create kind of a rhythm with your movement and your breath, extending back. While still maintaining that strong embodied foundation through your legs. Take 1 or 2 more before we hold. Next time you come up, finding your place to hold, you might be reaching forward a little more or reaching up toward the ceiling. That option of cactusing the arms, so bending your elbows, send your chest through and forward, ground down through your feet. 2 or 3 full cycles of breath here. And then reach your arms back behind you, interlace your hands, open across the chest. As you straighten your front leg, we can release the hands, step yourself forward once again, and a little bit of a shake out. That's it. When you're ready, let's reach your arms up overhead, inhale. Maybe it's your exhale that brings you all the way back down for your version of forward fold. Taking a halfway lift this time, lengthening hands, so hands to shins, lengthening your back, maybe taking your legs more towards straight, and then bending your knees, walking on back to downward facing dog once again. Your version of that, you can always bring the knees down, and then rising up, come forward towards a moment of high plank, whether that's up on your toes or down on your knees, and we'll use this to transition all the way down to your belly. So as you come down, just take a moment to lift one leg at a time, lengthening out. You can always kind of rearrange yourself or bring a blanket in under your pelvis if you like, whatever you need. And then lifting your upper body. So baby cobra, activate from the upper chest, upper back here, lengthen through the crown of your head. Maybe stay here or extend your arms back alongside you. You might also float your legs. Locust pose or Shalabhasana. Holding for 3 cycles of breath. Beautiful. And release down. Hands come underneath your forehead, let it settle. You can bend your knees, just if it's comfortable, take this little crisscross with your ankles. And then bringing your hands down, setting up for a Sphinx pose. So elbows coming down to the mat, forearms out. Now you can adjust if you bring your arms further forward. It means that there's not as much of that back bend. If you feel like it's all just coming into your lower back here, you might also walk your elbows out a little bit wider to find space across your collarbones. But press down slightly into the tops of your feet, active through the legs. And again, just 3 or 4 breaths right here. Let's take one more breath as you are. And then sliding all the way down, hands can rest under your forehead. Bend the knees again, this time take your feet side to side. Feet come down, hands come in beside you, and we'll draw back. We're going to actually finish this in a child's pose today. So as you sink back, if child's pose is not in your body comfortably, 1, you can stay up higher, but 2, you might prefer just to come all the way over and lie on your back. Otherwise, bringing your forehead down, if it's comfortable, you can bring the blankets back in and give yourself that extra support. And as you're here, just taking 3 breaths. With your inhale, see if you can really breathe into the back ribs, your back body. Exhale, softening down. Just allow the practice to settle. 2 more like that. From where you are, walking your hands in. Right, just make your way into a seat for a moment. You can always grab a little blanket or something to prop yourself up. You might have cross-legged or anything that's more comfortable, and just bringing your hands to the center of your chest. You might bow your head, your gaze. Find your tall spine. And just a moment to observe how you're feeling at the end of your practice. As we share a breath together to close, gathering all of your attention around your next inhale, filling up. And exhale, sighing out. So thank you for practicing with me today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.